The Gates of Camino.
Kiddies. Just your old pal, the Crypt Keeper, having a little holiday fun. Why else would I be in this getup? Unless there was a clause in my contract. In fact, I've got some Christmas goose for you. Goosebumps, that is. Yes, indeedy. A little terror tale chock full of holiday fear. I mean, cheer, of course. So, get a gander of a Yuletide yelp yarn that goes a little something like this. 'Twas the night before Christmas, and all through the house.
Yeah. All right.
Okay. All through the house. This is our Christmas episode.
Yeah, this is a bit of a change. We're actually getting in the holidays. Merry bells will be ringing, balls will be ringing. So this I'm excited for.
This is a good idea.
I'm excited.
This was yours. I really like
yeah,
this one.
this was you know what? It hit me like I've always dug this short film, but both of them. I've always dug this Tales from the Crypt, little double deuce. This I've always had it in my head, like if there was some way to do, you know, if you could just bookend the two, or if you could have the two together, just talk about the two. I don't know. I've just always had it in my head, and this it's like the perfect opportunity.
Oh, I agree. And since the way we do it's so like free formed anyway, we can just talk about them both. And just to let everybody know, there was a feature film that was an anthology that had different, segments and everything. And the first one was called All Through the House, starring Joan Collins. And
it was British.
Yeah, it's British. And was it Amicus was the company? Yeah. And so there was a Santa Claus that, that's on like a psycho killer that dresses as Santa Claus, and Joan Collins kills her husband. So this crazy Santa is trying to attack her and her daughter, but she can't call the police because she just killed her husband. And that's kind of the setup for both the movie. And then years later in the 80s, Tales from the Crypt, the TV show, came out, and they basically did the same thing, starring Mary Ellen Trainor is her name, Zemeckis' wife at the time.
Yeah.
Same story and pretty much.
Same basic story. I mean, it's like what I watching them back to back again. What I loved is, the British one, the first one, the OG, is very cold. It's that British, just cold, dry.
Yeah.
Joan Collins is fucking smoke. I mean, she's just a tasty dripping. She's dripping. I mean, everything, like in the guys, I mean, I said this to you earlier, dudes today just don't know. Joan Collins in the 70s, my God, she was a luscious treat for eyes.
She really didn't get famous until Dynasty in America, tons of shit,
But it was, I mean, it wasn't until like the 80s, but I mean, man, she was like the hot piece of ass. And you're seeing that like she's just as cold. I mean, it's all dramatic, super dramatic, that first one. And the second one is, it's like lively. I mean, I don't even know how we approach this because they're both the same, but it's so fun because
I think the Zemeckis one, the one that came in the 80s, that I think they tried to go back
part of
to
the TV show,
the TV show, and that was I watched that when it came out. I remember when it premiered.
Me too.
Me too. Yeah, remember that double feature with that and the William Sadler episode where
the first episode,
and so I don't know. I've always liked this. I think Zemeckis just went more with that comic feel, which is just more in line with the comic book. I actually, it probably was more faithful than the film was.
Well, here's what I think. I mean, I've never read the comic, so I mean, I don't know exactly. I mean, you're
I did.
probably
I actually do like Vault of Horror and Tales from the Crypt. So I do feel like the show tried to be more with that with the British
like more,
mythology.
yeah, like the British anthology
That was trying to be
definitely. Like I
scary.
said, yeah, it's scary, it's cold, it's real. I mean, the killer in the British one. I mean, first of all, the British one is like, you got this dripping. I mean, she's just sex drip, fucking Joan Collins, and
Murdered her husband.
clinking it. Yeah, murder her, and her husband is like this nice guy. He's like an old fucking. She's totally a gold digger. This, but he's
Yeah.
old, and he's like, oh, I've got my little present for my little cat. I mean, he's like all
Right.
nice. He's a very nice guy, and he
Yeah.
goes over and he puts her present down, and then he gets him a cigar, and he gets his little hat, and he gets his little brandy, and he sits down, and he's drinking the paper, and then slam. And she just like, just slams him right in the head with the poker and the blood. So it's like very cold and it's brutal. And it's all just she's a gold digger. She's just a bitch,
Yeah.
Whereas in the remake, and again, this could be how the comic was, but what I love about the remake is that no, Marshall Bell, who is, has
Oh,
this great little part, but he's
he's
just
so
like
great.
he's just an asshole. He's like, give me the poker. And he's just this son of a bitch. And he's just either he's abusive. He's the stepfather. So
Yeah.
he's like, he's emotionally abusive, probably physically abusive, certainly verbally abusive, because he calls her
Yeah.
an idiot or
And
something
the
like.
daughter, the stepdaughter, you could tell was afraid of him. Remember, she's like, "Good night,
Yeah.
Joseph." She was all
Good
like,
ninja. Yeah, he's probably just like just beating the shit out of her. And and here's what I like. I loved it is that so Mary Ellen Trainor, she kills him. She's like, "Merry Christmas, you son of a
yeah.
bitch." And then she goes over and calls her boy, her man, and
Right.
it's the answer machine. He's like, "Hey, this is Vic. Leave your message. Leave a message and your measurements." And it's like you can tell. So that's so wonderful, that little detail, because it's like, oh, she's an abused wife who has now gotten involved with this young piece of meat that's just fucking her, and she's in love with him, but he doesn't give a shit. He's like fucking everything. You know what I mean? And
Right.
like she's just
Right.
broken, and she's trying to find herself, and she kills for him. I love
Yeah.
that detail
And
though.
I think what was so cool, yeah, that was actually really good. And I think this was definitely more how the comics were because they always had a little bit of humor to it. So things like
But
when she
yeah,
kills him and she's dragging him outside, she's like, "Didn't I tell you to lose weight?"
listen, what?
Shit.
Yeah, it's like
Things like that, where the movie was very serious. And even the Santa Claus, you have that old man who I think is creepy as fuck.
oh,
And
he's
Larry
creepy as fuck.
Drake is just like, he's so comical with the teeth and,
Now
just
he is,
over the
but
top.
here's the thing. When I was a kid, it was reverse. When I was a kid, the Larry Drake scared the bejesus out of me. Like I was terrified of Larry Drake in this movie. Like I remember, and we don't give enough credit to Larry Drake, to
Oh man.
OLD.
Yeah.
I think he's dead now.
He is. He
I
is.
think he died a few years ago, which
He
is sad.
did.
But he, like I remember being a kid and my mom loving at this exact time that Tales from the Crypt was like hitting. She loved L.A. Law, and he was the retard on L.A. Law.
He
He
was
was the
in he
retard
was
office,
yeah, he was
assistant. He
also
was like he just made
Dark Knight and the
he made
Scarecrow,
copies for,
remember?
and he was yeah. So and see, I didn't see Dark Knight until later.
Oh, okay.
He's in Dark Man. Remember he's what is
Yeah.
it, Drake, or no, what's his name in Dark? It's
Oh
like something
fuck.
like it's, yeah, he's the baddie, and I saw that and I was like, he's a good actor. He's not really retarded because he's awesome in Dark Knight or Dark Man, and I thought he was like I thought he was like the guy from Life Goes On, Cork.
Oh yeah,
I thought he was like a.
I knew him more from first time was from Dark Knight of the Scarecrow. So I was just never
Oh,
afraid of him.
so you knew
Yeah, and I can't remember if Dr. Giggles came out before or
early '90s.
yeah, it did come out. I think it came after
So
the episode. Yeah.
Well, it was like this was his hot period. You
Hmm.
know, he goes from like retard LA Law, you know, he's doing villain on Dark Man. He gets this great little moment, and then he's doing Dr. Giggles, you know, because he's showing his horror side. But
Yeah.
to this, he terrified me. But then seeing it again, now I'm like, oh, I see the humor. He's
Hmm.
funny. He's like laughing. He's like, he's making all these noises, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. I thought that was funny. Yeah, he never scared me. The old guy I always thought was really creepy, you know.
Oh,
And he was always
yeah.
just
Yeah,
played
yeah,
so
yeah.
serious. I don't know.
Because he's like a real person. You know, it's like this, it's like a real old man that just, you know, and you know, there's something wrong with his face. I can't really tell what it is, but
Yeah, and I think there's a little more it feels like there's a little more stakes, or the stakes are risen in that one,
yeah.
because like Joan Collins feels a little more like under you know pressure than you know the remake was more just kind of, I don't know, it was just you already, first of all, you
Well,
already knew how it was ending, but
that,
it was kind of, I don't know,
that's a
more
good
fun.
point, actually, because in the first one, in the original, she can't call the cops because, she's killed her husband, obviously, and there's an obvious reason why, and it's not. But see, in the remake, she can't call the cops at first, or she tells them that no, nobody's
Yeah, it's the same
arrived.
thing at the
Once she
first.
knows, I
Yeah.
mean, you know, she's already been attacked, and like but then she comes up with like, oh yeah, he killed my husband, officer. You know what I mean?
Because remember, Joan Collins, she pushes her husband down the steps after she kills him, and then takes the
Yeah,
blood and sprinkles it around to make it look
yeah.
like, because she's trying to pull the same shit too.
Oh yeah, and that blood, that British blood.
Fucking yeah.
It's like orange. I hate that. I mean, it's like even as a kid, I was like, this doesn't look real. It's like you know, because I think they were doing I think they had issues with censoring.
I don't know. I don't think. I just think they didn't really have it down yet.
Oh yeah, yeah. They just didn't. They couldn't make it yet. It wasn't the good stuff.
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure why it was so like Technicolor all the time, you know. But I mean, Americans did it for a while too, until like, you know, may even been like Savini did
Yeah,
it,
I mean,
or
yeah.
Dick Smith,
I
or
guess that is
someone
true.
really got it right.
Yeah, that is true. I mean, some of those '70s movies are just like that's not real blood. But I liked from in the new one when I started, or the TV show when I started when I pushed play on it and I'm watching it, I'm like, oh fuck, this was like it's not just Robert Zemeckis and this great cast, but it's like produced by Richard Donner, and
Yeah,
it's
Joel
you
Silver.
know is Joel. Oh yeah, Joel Silver and
And yeah, no, it was
Walter Hill,
Walter Hill. Yeah.
and it was in it, and the cinematography, Dean Cundy,
Yep, yep.
and then written by Fred Decker.
Yeah, but
I was like, oh fuck, this is like an all-star kind of
it was
joint.
such a big deal though. You know, remember the cameo, Schwarzenegger was on that one. Like they it was a big deal. Like Zemeckis, this
Which
is
one
like,
was he on?
god damn, I'm not
He
gonna
was on
even.
that first season though.
Uh, he was like in the part. Not he wasn't in an episode. He did something with the Crypt Keeper, like
Oh,
when it
wait a
was like,
minute.
yeah, he wasn't
Yes.
in an
Yeah.
episode.
I do
You know,
remember this. I
yeah.
do remember this.
And oh yeah, there were tons of stars though all throughout it. But like Robert Zemeckis, this was like obviously like he was so big at this time, and I was going through all the old DVDs that I had of like Tales from the Crypt, wherever the fuck I could find for this. And I had a DVD that is the Robert Zemeckis collection for Tales of the Crypt. And
Oh,
yeah,
shit.
so it was this episode. It was, which is my favorite episode, which is Yellow. Have you ever seen Yellow,
Yeah.
which is basically the remake of Paths of Glory? And I love that episode. And then there is the one that's like the remake, not the remake, but it's the one when they have Humphrey Bogart. It's like the point of view episode with
Oh,
Sherilyn Fenn, and they merge
yes.
on
Now
Lithgow.
that one, the yellow one, I'm having trouble recalling.
Yellow
The
is it's
Humphrey
Dan
Bogart one,
Aykroyd,
that one.
Kirk Douglas. It's a awesome episode.
Okay, that one I don't remember. That I definitely don't remember that one. But the you saying the Humphrey Bogart one, like I still think about that episode,
Oh
and I
yeah,
forgot that it
fucking
was. I
classic.
kept wondering. I couldn't remember if that was Tales from the Crypt or what, but I was like, wasn't there some anthology show I saw where there was an episode where there was a Humphrey Bogart? You know? I was when I was watching this, I watched it a second time actually, this one, the newer one, and when it ended, it went right into the next episode, which was one of my all time favorites, the Joe Pantoliano, not the Nine Lives one. I
Yep.
can't remember what it was, but where he's got he's got like 9 lives, and he's like a sideshow freak, and he dies, and then the whole time he's narrating and he's in the casket, but then he's like,
that's a really good
at the
one.
end, yeah, that's a really good. Yeah, that it was such a good. And I'll tell you something that's weird you bring up, like this whole era where they're doing these anthologies. It's like you had the Zemeckis crew doing this Tales from the Crypt, but remember, like at this same time or right before that, you had the Spielberg doing the Amazing Stories.
Yeah,
and they
I
had
liked
all
Amazing
those
Stories. There were some
I did
liked.
too.
Yeah. There were some that were a little bit,
yeah, some of the Amazing Stories were a little bit, because they were all sort of original pieces, but there was a few that were like really good. There was the Scorsese one, which was the one with the it was a horror one, with the guy, the ghoul that only the dude could see in the reflection.
Oh, I'd have to think about that. I haven't. Yeah.
But anyway, back to these though. Like, I love. We were talking earlier, and I was like, man, if you could switch Joan Collins out with into the new one, it'd be perfect. But then as I kept seeing it, I'm like, no, the Mary Ellen Trainor, she's kind of perfect in it.
He plays it the right way. Joan Collins, I don't think is funny at all.
No, she's
I think,
no.
Yeah,
God,
no. Mary Ellen Trainor had a certain thing to her. I mean, she definitely made it a lot more fun to watch and go through it with. And yeah, she played it comically, and that's. I mean, Joan Collins is sweating the whole time, and it's just all intense and thriller, and I liked it. It's just not funny.
It's just dry. It's just cold. It's like, it's just dry. It's cold, dramatic. Whereas, it's fun. I mean, I felt cozy watching the Mary Ellen Trainor one. I was, just felt it was fun. It was funny. Even though Larry Drake is just goofy as hell in it, he still has, he's still imposing. There's still a scariness to it. But you're right. She really nails it home. And give it up for Mary Ellen Trainor. My God, I mean,
right? She died a few years back too.
She died a few years back, and that's a tragedy because she was like our cinematic mother growing up.
She was in tons of shit,
tons of stuff. She was, and two of my favorites growing up. She was the mother, Goonies and Monster Squad.
Yeah,
and I still to this day I think Monster Squad's probably her best. Probably her best performance, but I mean, she was great in like all the Die Hard,
yeah,
the Lethal Weapons, and Romancing the Stone. She was the sister that she's like, you have to save me because they're going to but she was dynamite. She was like a total 80s mom.
She was totally 80s all the way. It's just kind of, I wish there was more to it. I mean, I really don't have much prepared for this episode.
I mean, this is just the Christmas spirit. It's like, to me, it's like a perfect thing because the first one is sort of, like I said, it's very cold, very British, but you got that dripping Joan Collins, and then you got this one, the remake is great, and it's got all these, it's got all this money to it. It's got all this fun stuff. It's got this great little cast, great little crew that you could tell they're having a blast doing it. And for all of you guys and gals out there who have not seen this, you got to put this sucker on because.
Where did you find them at? Where did you find them at?
Well, the Tales from the British one, the movie is on Tubi.
Okay.
And so you can stream that for free. And it's the first one that plays, but stick around and watch the rest because the rest of them are pretty cool too.
They are. I do like the whole movie. I do.
Yeah. And
Shout Factory put out a Blu-ray with that.
Really?
Yeah, that and Vault of Horror. It was a double feature they put out. So I got the Blu-ray to that. So I watched that.
Oh man, I bet that'd be nice cleaned up,
Mm-hmm.
This though I found on YouTube. Like you can watch the HBO Tales from the Crypt. Like I don't know how many episodes are on there, but the first 3 episodes are fully on there. And so you guys can go out there and watch it. And I just, you know what else I love about the remake is that, I mean, look, the first one, I love all the 70s sort of, I love the carpet, you know, the white shag carpet but the remake though, the 90s were late 80s, whatever. I just love it's on a lot, it's on a set. You know, you can tell, like, you know, it's not real snow or any, you know, but it's just, I love that practical magic of it. It's like total studio, but it's like perfection studio. You know, it's like Gremlins or something. I mean, they're shooting on the lot and it looks great and the lighting is great. And you got all these, you know,
the 80s, the Zemeckis version does have that Gremlins feel, that very studio feeling to it. It definitely has that.
It's comforting. It just like that's what I want to live in that house. You know, I want Marshall Bell to beat on me and like slap my mom or
What are some of your other favorite horror flicks to watch this time? Like Christmas horror movies are pretty good. You know?
Oh yeah. Well, this is like certainly got to be top of the list, or you know, certainly in the top tier. But Black Christmas, the '70s version.
Yeah, that's probably Bob Clark's is probably.
Oh God, with Olivia Hussey, that fucking hussy.
Yeah,
and it's just, you know, it's sleazy and it's greasy. I mean, you know, obviously Silent Night, Deadly Night. It's so fun. It's so goofy and Gremlins. You know, I mean, like those are like, you know, there's a few others that kind of I discovered in later years. Like there's the it's got a couple names, but Christmas Evil. Did you ever see that?
Oh yeah, I've seen that. It's okay. Yeah, it's okay.
It's not like horror.
I don't like that like the other ones.
Yeah, it's a slower movie, but it's, you know, and it's not the best looking kind of movie, you know, but
right.
And there's a British one called, I think it's Don't Open Till Christmas.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that's sleazy. That's a good sleazy one. But so if you want some sleep, if you're single and lonely like us, you know, you just look up some British Christmas horror and you get some sleaze going. What else am I missing? What else is there's a few.
I mean, cinephiles have their holiday movie thing you start with in October. It's like this horror time. And then some people do, you know, Noir-vember, and it gets into like the black and white film noirs or just whatever, November time. And then Christmas, everyone's kind of different. I love mafia movies. And that's usually my choice. And then like Christmas movies, I like sometimes fluctuate. So they're always something stupid. It'll be like a dumb movie where I'm like, this is gonna be my Christmas movie this year. Like, you ever see The Silent Partner with Elliot Gould? That was my movie last year that I watched. And I was like, this is gonna be my Christmas
seen
movie.
it. I need to revisit that. I do remember though. But yeah. It's like, well, and that's, you know what, that's interesting because it's not just horror you know, it's
like Die Hard. People love Die Hard.
Some people love Die Hard. I mean, there's the go-tos. Like I love seeing. Well, I mentioned Gremlins, but I love seeing fucking National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation.
Christmas Vacation. That's another one.
Because it's never gets old. It's always just it's dated, sure, but it's just, to me, it's so fun. And
I usually, you know, obviously Godfather is usually, you know, either Christmas. It's usually Christmas Eve. I'll do Godfather. And then that little span between Christmas and New Year's Eve, I have a certain group of movies I watch, which would be Godfather Part 2, Lawrence of Arabia, and 2001 Space Odyssey. I always watch in that little week.
So you get
I do Phantom Thread too. I threw Phantom Thread in there since that came out.
Oh, that's a very, I can see that. There's a coldness to it. There's like, you want to warm up with that movie kind of a thing.
Yeah.
You know, it's now that you're saying this, I mean, you know, like I said, there's the anchors of Christmas Vacation, and then Scrooged with Bill Murray. You gotta have that.
Yeah.
But I do love Godfather this time of year just because it has that Christmas to it.
Yeah.
Goodfellas too
Yeah.
has that great, that great Christmas moment.
It's a Christmas movie, in my
It
opinion.
is.
Yeah.
It is definitely. It is a definite. I think we know this. That is a Christmas movie. Anything that's sort of. I mean, The Thing. I love around this time of year
Yeah,
because it
The
is
Shining as
cold.
well. I do,
The
even though some people do
Shining.
it in July. I do it now because it's
Oh
snow.
no, no. Shining is a cold movie. And when it's the holiday season, and when it's getting light, because sometimes you don't want it to be too bright and sunny. You don't want too
Yeah.
many you just want like a taste of things. So when you say that, yeah, that's an interesting concept of what it is that what do I respond to more during this time of year? Because I mean, look, there's going to be plenty of Christmas movies playing. That's just how it is. It's just going to, you're not going to get around that. But anything that like I'm not a big plane, trains, and automobiles
Oh,
guy around Thanksgiving. Like
oh,
I
really? I
I
just love
liked it
John
as
Candy. I just got to
you
give
know,
him the
he
respect.
yeah, he's great in it. And it is a fun
But I
movie, but
feel you. I know what you're saying.
it's so I've seen it.
Yeah.
It's like Home Alone.
Yeah.
I saw that movie so many damn times. I can't do it anymore. I just, it's some people got to have it this time of year. I'm
You know
like,
what I watch on Thanksgiving? It's become my new
what?
Thanksgiving movie. Two movies. One, I always do A Nightmare Before Christmas because I
Oh,
always
okay.
say that ties in Halloween and Christmas. So I'm like, I'll do it
Mm.
on Thanksgiving, catch it in the middle. But my main movie is now American Movie, the documentary.
Oh yes, I've never
I
seen
Oh,
that.
it's
I've
it's one of
always heard.
it might be the greatest documentary ever. It might be, but it has a great Thanksgiving part, and
Yeah,
you have to see American Movie. It
I've
is
always
amazing.
heard
When I
about that.
first saw it, I thought it was fake. I was like, this can't be real. This cannot, I'm like this and it not only is it real, but like actually the older I get, I end up like kind of respecting this guy more. He's supposed to be about this like not a good filmmaker. Just watch it. I won't even do it.
Yeah,
But yeah,
I do.
American
I
Movie.
vaguely remember when it came out, and it was like critical. Like everybody was talking about it. And I was working at a video store. That I'll tell you that's something right there. Is when I think of this time of year, I think of video stores.
Mm.
Like for some reason, I'm always
Well,
thinking
Christmas was
about.
big. Movie theaters and Blockbuster. All that shit was big
Yeah,
back in the
it's like
day.
you
You're
you
right.
were you were in the I remember working at the video store during the holiday season, and you had obviously had all the Christmas shit wrapped everywhere, and it'd be cold outside, so you go inside you'd be in the video store, and people would come in, and they're like cold, and it was just kind of this warm moment because they would spend the next hour or two in a warm place. And so they're more friendly and they don't want to leave because they don't want to get back out into the cold. And so it just I don't know, it just was like a comforting, you could talk to people and they were in a better mood because they weren't having to fight the cold and you could have, whatever holiday movies you had play. I don't know. I just always think about video stores, yeah, movie theaters at this time of year. It makes me think of that time. So
No, I feel you. I feel you. I do like the holiday movie setup, and I do have my go-tos. I do in October, my go-tos I do in November and December as well. And this is as many times as I've seen both of these all through the houses, especially the film version.
right.
I mean, I've just seen it so many times, but I don't know. This is the first time I watched it as like the holiday movie rotations. Yeah.
Yeah. And
And
it
it was pretty
belongs
fun.
there. It belongs there. It's totally, if anything, if you guys out there listening get anything out of this episode, it's that even though these are not, one's an anthology and one's just an
Yeah, it was hard
episode
to
of a
talk
show.
about these because there wasn't much.
Well, it's like, but
Yeah.
they're worthy being in your rotation in the holidays. If you're going to be in the horror mood and you're going to watch Black Christmas and Silent Night, Deadly Night, but if you're going to like the Gremlins or any of the sort of ghoulish ones at the holiday season, you got to give these a try. These
Yeah.
are totally worth it. They're short, so hence why our episode is short this time. But they're easy to watch. They're fun to watch, and they kind of jump starts you into the mood.
To Joanne, the best wife in the world. Love from Richard. And a big kiss.
Merry Christmas, you son of a bitch.